This just in, a new generational meme has been born. Is League of Legends PC getting lesser skin quality in terms of quality all across the board in comparison to their counterpart, Wild Rift? And how many more years will it be until we see a new support champion? And finally, the one that you guys been waiting for, are co-streamers and content creators the actual reason for the demise of League of Legends and the pro scene? Or is this just an excuse? Let's talk about it all here on the Summoner's Sofa. Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to the Summoner's Sofa. My name is Miss Chum Chum, your League of Legends news and talk show host, and you are here for all of the League of Legends news collected from all corners of the internet. Whether you've been grinding League since beta in 09 or you just downloaded League of Legends yesterday, we have everything you need to know to stay up to date on League news, League drama, and of course, esports. As always, there's a lot to cover, so if you want to learn about it or discuss it with me, keep on watching. So let's start with your take and your first look at your Nexus feed. There has been a meme that has taken the world by storm. And for the people who are listening via the podcast, there's been a meme that has been popularized by the team no other than T1. In this meme, you'll see that there is a player named T1 Gumbo who just won a League of Legends games, but he ends up crying and drinking I think is soju from a vial, and his team captain or his coach has to violently stop him from downing this drink. Well, this meme has broken the barriers, and even other esports and major brands like the WWE have been using it. T1 actually set out this skit during April Fools, and you may know T1 as the 6-time world-winning team. Well, T1 Gumbo is not actually a League of Legends player. He's actually a Korean actor named Moon Sang-hoon. He is a genuine enjoyer of League of Legends, but this was all a comedy sketch. Some people thought it was AI. Some people thought that it just wasn't real. It turns out it was just a comedy sketch. But what makes it so major is that a fan actually printed out this meme and showed it during an interview at the end of LCK. And y'all, it made even Faker crack a smile. Now, Faker is well known for being stone cold, very focused during interviews, but it even got the literal GOAT of League of Legends to break a smile. And I kind of want to tell y'all why this is so important. Yes, it's just a small little joke and it's very funny, but it has brought over 70 million eyes and rapidly increasing to not only T1 in the esports scene, but also League of Legends. Now, this is just another reason that content creators are so great for the esports ecosystem, but trust me, we are going to talk loads about that later, so just sit and wait on that one. Why don't we talk about support players? And I want to ask the support players literally, because I've seen all over the internet that support players are completely anguished after learning that Locke will not be a new support. A lot of them and a lot of y'all have been asking, why hasn't Riot put out a new support in over 3 years? And yes, there are many champions that can be played in an off-meta way as a support. But is this an abandoned role more influential than what we think? I'm kind of proposing the idea that Riot Games is not adding a new champion because they think that, in a certain way, the support plays with roaming, engaging, peeling, keeping the ADC safe, and even shielding and healing. Because those are core tasks of being a support, would adding another one kind of disrupt the balance of roles in the game? Think about it for a second. Every champion that hits Summoner's Rift normally needs a hotfix or is overpowered right off the gate. New champions always seem to have a new mechanic or a new power that is a little bit more broken than the last one. For example, Mbessa can dash, 6 times if you're counting after each ability. And then you have Zahin with his literal revive if he auto attacks enough times. But I also want to propose the idea, is it that they're just too focused on selling the game to solo laners and selling the fantasy of these high impact, crazy intense team fighting oriented champions like Zahin and Mbessa? Locke has been announced that it's going to be a mid lane assassin, and he's surely to have a flashy way of killing someone. So is it just that supports aren't appealing enough to the general base or general player base? Overall, support players are very upset and they feel abandoned. Most importantly, support players are claiming that the role has become stale because of the lack of attention that they're getting. But let me give you some stats real quick. There have been 9 champions that have come out since Melio in 2023. And if you want to count Locke, that'll be 10 champions. So what was the last champ that came out? It was Melio on March 23rd, 2023. And Mel does not count as a support, y'all, because she has a 1.4% pick rate. So this had me thinking, what were the roles that came out and in what order? We had Nefiri, who was a mid laner or a jungler. We had Briar, Hui, who is a mid laner, Smolder an ADC, Aurora, who's a jungler, and Bessa, who is a top laner. You got Mel, Yanara, and then Zahin. So I wanted to break it down and I wanted to see, is there a bias towards a certain role? There really isn't. Top lane got 2 champions, jungle got 1, 4 if you want to count Nefiri and Mbessa, and Aurora did come out intentional to be played in the jungle role. And then you have mid having 2, ADC having 2, and support having 0. You could also argue that Hui is technically a support, but I wouldn't, just off of the fact that he has a 0.6% pick rate. So I want to ask y'all, how much longer do you think it'll be before we see another support? I see y'all talking in the chat. I see that Miss X is sad that support gets no love, and it's so true. And I even did a little bit further research to see what was the time spacing between Melio coming out and the previous support. And it seemed like it was happening about every 3 years. Now, the cadence that Riot Games has released a support or released new champions was about 5 to 6 champions per year in the past. Now, they have stated that they are releasing less champions every year to up the quality in terms of what the champion's abilities are and the lore and whatnot. So we're getting less champions, and obviously we're getting less supports, but hopefully with the cadence of it being 3 years that we get a new support, we'll see a support either by the end of this year or at the top of 2027. But I will say, I need y'all to continue making noise because League of Legends definitely listens to the community. Now, guys, we have a very, very special guest in the house. Y'all may know him as the Ruin King. You may know him as the Viego main or the Pentakiller, the high elo content creator. Elekktro is here today. So just please stand by for one moment as we bring him on. All right, everybody, give a warm welcome to Mr. Elekktro. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I see y'all in chat. Y'all are lit. Y'all are hype about the VA goat. I like that one. That's kind of fire. Yeah. But I'm like absolutely raging to ask you. Well, first let me ask you, how's the grind? Grandmaster, right?
The grind's actually been quite favorable for me lately. You know, not the flex, like 70% win rate in the last 100 games. You know, hit 1,000 LPGM. Pretty proud of that. Is going away soon though, as it were.
Yes,
as it were. But I'm very happy with the grind lately. I've been committing. I mean, it is a grind. That is something we'll talk about. It's like a real grind. but it's been good.
Yeah, kind of to reference the grind problem. So we covered this last week, but basically, the LP gains and losses in high elo have been insane. So Challenger is the top 300 players in all of League of Legends. And once you hit Challenger for this year specifically, the gains for each win was 30 LP, correct? And then you would only lose 10 LP per loss. So you could have a losing win rate and still be going up in terms of the ladder. Now, again, this is only for Challenger. This is only for the top 300 players. If you are the 301 player, then you get regular gains and losses, which is like what, 20, 25?
Yeah.
Per win, and then per loss, like what, 15, 20?
It like depends on your MMR, but it does like fluctuate like crazy. And so like if you're starting, at Master 0 LP, you basically have 1,000+ LP to go before you're able to actually like get to the next Apex tier. Which is pretty demotivating for sure. But yeah, like even the difference between Grandmaster and Challenger, which Grandmaster's top 1,000, is like a 30 win streak away. And unless you're able to play it for a job, which I do, it even feels like daunting to me to go on that grind.
Absolutely. And again, we covered this last week, but Shaden actually was able to reach 3,000 LP to hit rank 1. And a lot of people were calling for a rank reset, but League of Legends and the writers and the devs were absolutely adamant about not resetting the ladder. But literally 50 minutes ago, an hour ago, they just announced that a rank reset is coming, and it's only for the Apex tiers, so Master and above. I want to know, do you think this was absolutely necessary? And are you excited, upset? How do you feel?
I think it was necessary for a few reasons, but the big one is because I don't think anyone would have accepted anything else other than this. Ultimately, like whether it is or isn't the correct choice, people needed like some sort of like big change. And even if it ends up being a horrible idea, I think people will respect the fact that Riot did this because, it's a huge change. Personally, I'm very excited about it because it's a fresh start, but also it's like it's gonna be great content, which is something I care about because effectively what's gonna happen is everybody, no matter whether you're 3,000 LP Challenger or 10 LP Master, we're all getting put back to Master 0 LP. And the big thing is they're taking away MMR. So in the past, they're resetting the MMR.
Okay.
So in the past, if you were like Challenger last season, you basically would have very fortuitous LP gains until you got back to Challenger. So it was like effectively guaranteed that as long as you play, you'll get back to Challenger. But now everybody's gonna have the exact same gains, whether you're Master 0 LP or Challenger. You could get on a team with 5 Master players versus 5 Challengers. It's just gonna be like a complete war zone basically, where everybody starts fresh. But what that will do is in like 100 games or so, the people who really deserve to climb will climb, and the people who don't won't, and people will get to the LP that they actually deserve, which is exciting. It's interesting to see, as someone who hopefully will deserve to climb.
Ooh,
as it were.
Yes, I'm rooting for you because I know it's like your thing. You want to hit Challenger this year. Would this be your first time hitting Challenger ever?
It would be, yeah.
Okay.
It would be, and like is it going to be easier or harder? Probably will be harder. Because the idea is the ladder integrity will be more. It'll be more stable. So to get Challenger, you really have to be a Challenger level player. So will that be possible? I think personally, I think it is for myself, but even if it's not, like it does just make it more competitive. Like there's no doubt the ladder will be more competitive. Right now, you could be playing against someone higher ranked than you, but they really just played a ton at the beginning of the season when they got like crazy LP gains and don't really deserve it. I lately have been getting plus 18 minus 22. So that's it's a little triggering for me every time I see it. But I also have been climbing with those gains, so
Ooh.
who's to say what could happen?
No flex zone real quick. Hold
Little
on,
flex.
chill. Okay, so I see people in the chat wanting me to ask about the robe, and I'm also very curious. Where did this robe, he's very well known for this purple robe that he always wear. Where did this robe come from?
I don't wear the robe as much anymore, but when I first started streaming, I would roll out of bed and go live. So I didn't always want to get dressed, so I would just put on a robe. And, it kind of became an iconic thing where I was wearing a robe. So I ended up, getting a robe embroidered with my name on it. It's on the
Whoa.
back as well. Purple is my favorite color. I guess it also works out that it's kind of like a royal color, and I ended up playing the Ruin King. But this was before Viego, so I ended up wearing the robe, and then I think I kind of decided to, in my big 27 years of age, wear real clothes when I go live on stream. But for special occasions, I'll whip out the robe.
Oh, fire. No, I love that. Yeah, it's a little backstory. So with your degenerate background of streaming, did you ever like take it with you to like live events and stuff like that, or?
I used to wear it to TwitchCon, wear it around
Wow.
the convention. Yeah, I remember especially TwitchCon Vegas in 2022 maybe. It was almost 100 degrees, I think, and
Wow.
I wore the robe. I suffered through it. Probably didn't smell great. I don't know. I mean, it was sweaty. Like, it was a bad time, but I was committed for sure.
I love that. It kind of fits the theme of Vegas, I feel like, walking
Yeah,
around
sure.
in
Yeah.
a. Oh my gosh, they're calling you grandpa in chat. Y'all gotta stop.
No, I might as well be like 45 at this point for my chat, but
Let's talk about some League of Legends news outside of the rank climb. Let's talk about skin quality. I feel like skin quality in League of Legends has kind of been fluctuating. I did a piece a while ago on the decrease of skin quality over the years of 2024 and 2025, but 2026, I feel like it's kind of been going back up, but there's one portion that still seems to be lacking, and I think that is chromas. And if you don't know what chromas are, especially for those who are listening through on the podcast, chromas are when you buy a certain skin, you're able to purchase the skin in different colors. And those different colors are called chromas. The best example for chromas changing the skin is Pool Party Caitlyn. With Pool Party Caitlyn, the base skin, she's in a cute little purple bikini, right? But if you purchase a chroma, it changes the swimsuit. So she can go to a black one piece or a yellow two piece and so on and so forth. Well, you can also see this across a couple of other skins that came out in previous years, like Sugar Rush Ziggs, where it changes his glasses, and Sweet Tooth Braum, where it changes his shield. If we compare the latest Braum skin that was released last year for April Fools, the chromas are simply color variants. So I did a little bit of digging, and since 2024, specifically once Battle Queens released at the end of August in 2024, chromas just began to be recolors with a couple of exceptions. I think that this is an obvious decrease in skin quality, and some people on Reddit and Twitter attribute this change to the artist changes in recent years at Riot, even going so far as to say that there isn't the same passion there in creating skins anymore. So I kind of want to ask you, have you noticed a decline in skin quality? And do you think that this is something that should or shouldn't be focused on? Like, is it essential?
I do think that there definitely is a decline in skin quality. I think, talking about like Revenant Rain Viego, for example, the Exalted skin, I think that is something that a lot of people feared, is that the introduction of like the Exalted skins basically means that the only time you're going to get really high quality skins is when it's put behind that Gamba system. So perhaps that is something that has gone into it. I think with chromas, there's not like different price tiers with chromas as far as I'm aware. So what's Riot's incentive to just do recolors versus like basically like reskins, like some like Sugar Crush Braum, which is one that I remember. So I do think that there should be the incentive to just like have the baseline of like chromas change the skin, and I think a lot more people would be willing to buy them. But if all the skin chromas are just recolors, then people just buy those as well if there's not like the alternative. But I also think it's interesting how like Wild Rift, I know you mentioned this, their skin quality is incredible. And as a Viego player, almost all of Viego's best skins are on Wild Rift besides the Exalted skin, which is his best skin, but it's like $250. I hope it's the best. But the rest of the best skins are like the Calligraphia skin and some of the really cool ones on Wild Rift. And it just makes you wonder, like, how is it possible that the mobile version of League is getting higher quality skins? Like, it can't. Is it really the artists they're paying, or is it like maybe just Riot's just pushing more into Wild Rift's like quality of skins? It's hard to tell why it's happening, but there definitely is like a big difference.
100%. And for those who do not know what an exalted skin in League of Legends is there are tiers of skins for League of Legends. Exalted is the newest version of a skin tier, and it is also the most expensive. So League of Legends has recently introduced a gacha aspect to purchasing skins. So now you have to roll for a skin, and it's really RNG. And the more money you put in, the more you're guaranteed to get the skin next. So some of these skins require you to put in so much as $250 to acquire the skin. And a lot of people and a lot of League of Legends players have made the argument that they are decreasing the quality of regularly priced skins, like $5, $10 skins, in order to make the quality of these expensive skins higher. So they're taking away from the lower tiered skins so that it is more reasonable. It makes you want to buy these more expensive skins. A lot of people believe it's predatory how they're introducing this gacha aspect, especially into a game, and this was one of my points, especially into a game that is marketed towards teenagers. Because don't tell my mama this, but back in the day, I would take her credit card and I would purchase some things on the internet like skins and video games. And if you're a teenager, you are not able to have $250 as just like disposable income. If you're a teenager, you don't have disposable income. So League of Legends being marketed to a younger audience, and you can tell they're marketing it to a younger audience because there's situations like Graves used to have a cigar, but they censored that and they took that out because of the younger audience. Or they even changed the ability names for Gragas, who is a drunkard and is literally throwing like barrels of beer around the rift. So not my mama calling me right now. Yeah, don't tell my mama. I hope mama not watching the stream right now. But you brought up a great point. Wild Rift skins, y'all. Oh my gosh. League of Legends, if you don't know what Wild Rift is, has a mobile counterpart that you can play on your phone, and it is called Wild Rift. Wild Rift puts out some absolutely insane skins. The skin quality is absolutely fantastic. They have cutscenes, they have animated poses, and in-game effects that are phenomenal. They have so many exclusive skin lines as well, like Crystal Rose. They have Soul Fighter Lucian, Soul Fighter Neela, Soul Fighter Senna. And then, as you mentioned, there's like a Fiend Queller Yone as well. Well, guys, it has just been announced that they are doing a collaboration with Porsche, with literally the sports car, the luxurious car Porsche. Now, one, I got to shout out Wild Rift because that is freaking awesome. But they have a whole racing skin line queued up for Kaisa, Aurora, Hecarim, Zed, and Irelia. So the community is wondering, like, why is there such a drastic difference in skin quality? And why are these exclusive skins not coming to PC? It's obvious that you've seen some of the exclusive skins. Do you think that Riot should be porting the skins over, or should Wild Rift keep these exclusive to Wild Rift?
I think there's definitely a reason why they haven't ported them over, which is, I think, maybe the appeal of Wild Rift over League is the fact that they have these insanely high quality skins. And I'm sure it's like different licensing and everything. So like them having the Porsche sponsor is probably a little more complicated to do in League of Legends, but I do think that I do wonder if the reason why Wild Rift has higher quality skins is just because, like, why would you play mobile over PC besides, just like having like a laptop or a computer? It might just be because it's like, oh, well, like it looks better, or like because my character has cooler skins. And, if Wild Rift players feel like their one thing that they have is like super like high quality skins is just being given away to the PC players, then like what is even the point of playing Wild Rift? For a lot of people. So I think that could be the reason.
Yeah, and I think that the change that is happening rapidly on League of Legends in terms of skin quality is making the difference so much worse. So Wild Rift is obviously getting these outstanding skins, and at the same time, we feel like the skin quality in League of Legends is going down because they're taking away from the lower tiered skins. So I feel like all of this happening at the same time makes the situation look that much worse. But if we want to talk about something that's getting real bad, I think is this conversation on the esports side, especially coming from co-streamers. So I think it's time that we get into some Rift tea. All right, so Rift tea is our little esports segment, and I'm super duper hyped because we're diving into something that's super crazy. Over the weekend, a lot of people might have seen on Twitter and on YouTube, a huge long-standing debate has broken out across the community, centering around the British prominent League of Legends content creator, streamer, and former professional player named Kadril. Now, Twitter has exploded with people bashing Kadril, saying that co-streaming has killed LEC, which is the esports league for Europe specifically. Now, a vocal crowd is demanding that the organizers put a more strict leash on co-streaming rights. It started when esports host Shocks pointed out that the co-streamers are basically handed a multi-million-dollar broadcast for the free ski, and they often profit off of it without enough respect for the main broadcast. Well, shortly after this, the North American esports team FlyQuest released a video kind of essentially blaming co-streamers for ruining the esports ecosystem, and it completely backfired. So they used an unflattering AI-generated image of Kadril as the thumbnail, positioning him as the poster child for the problem. Kadril has been a little bit upset as to this, and he slammed it as shameless rage bait, which I'm not gonna lie, I agree with. And other massive creators railed to his defense. So I kind of want to know your take before we dive in. Is Kadril the hero for keeping the LEC alive, or is he problematic for draining the life out of the league? Or is there a larger experience model issue here?
Yeah, no, I agree with FlyQuest. I think you're the villain, and you're ruining League Esports. No, I don't actually believe that. I do think the video is pretty insane for a lot of reasons. I think just if you've seen the video, it's 15 minutes long. The first 10 minutes is basically kind of demonizing these co-streamers as just personalities that aren't really adding anything to the space. And then the last 5 minutes is sort of them just glazing their own content creators, which is an interesting way to go about things. No hate to those creators because I actually know some of them and they're great, but it is just very interesting that FlyQuest themselves take this stance that co-streamers are killing League Esports, because ultimately I do think it's the orgs themselves that are actually hurting League Esports, because it's their responsibility to get you invested in their players and their storylines. There's a reason why even at, MSI last year, there was huge TSM chants at an international event, even though TSM's, had the world's greatest fall off. It is very interesting because people were really invested in TSM. I personally was super invested in TSM. I had a TSM jacket when I was 16. I really loved it, and it's because you got invested in the players. And I don't think that's the co-streamer's responsibility, or even necessarily the broadcast's full responsibility. I think the orgs are the ones that are failing in this regard, and it's just interesting that they took this stance. But I'm curious what you think.
I agree. I love that we're calling it ragebait because I think it's exactly that. I think FlyQuest, excuse my language, sometimes clout is one hell of a drug. And I think that they needed clicks. I think they needed Twitter to pop off about this, because it brings the eyes to FlyQuest and the video. So they got maybe like 25,000 views off of this, but the real gag, y'all, is that a content creator and a co-streamer reacted to this video and got how many views?
I think like over 60,000. Yeah.
Oh, so more than double the esports org's reach. That's crazy. It's almost like the co-streamer reacting to this esports content has brought more eyes to the issue than the org themselves, almost like they're essential to the ecosystem in and of itself. I think that taking a step back, looking at this whole situation and this whole problem, there's so many contributing factors to the decline of League of Legends viewership. I think that it all starts with Twitch. We need to fully understand and accept that Twitch viewership as a whole, as the entire website, has been going down since 2020. And why is that? It's because of COVID. People were quarantining, they were in their house, which means there's more free time, there's more viewers, there's more eyes on the site. But at the same exact time, there is Riot's broadcast has to create a product that wants to be watched, or people want to watch. In the FlyQuest video, they say that now the responsibility is on the content creators to make the story. That is not where we're at. It's still very much on Riot Games to make these compelling stories. And I think they do a great job at that. I think at Worlds, they do an amazing job at that. We had the DRX versus T1. Yep. Holy moly. We have the BLG versus T1. Oh my gosh, T1 is just in all of the headlines. But I think it's insane to say that the content creators are now required to make these storylines. No, we're supposed to watch the storylines and run with them, and low-key sell them to our viewers as well. So I still don't think it's on content creators at all. But I have one additional point here, is that League of Legends is still outperforming other esports. So if we look at, I think it's Counter-Strike, if we look at Valorant, League of Legends is still one of the top performing esports in terms of viewership and in terms of prize pool, which is like hand in hand. So if we're talking about the decline of the decline of eyes on League of Legends pro scene, I don't think it is because of co-streamers. There's just a decline in general, and League of Legends is still doing the best out of everyone else. Another point I want to bring up is co-streamers analytics. So as a co-streamer, I can speak to this. I got the contract and everything. We are required to put a certain hashtag in our title that allows the LCS or allows LoL Esports to collect our data or our analytics based off of how many people are watching. Another requirement for Riot Games is to take those analytics, put them up in a nice, pretty package, and go sell that to sponsors to get more funding to make these amazing broadcasts that we get to watch. So again, it is not on the content creators to sell. Riot needs to leverage that data in a better way. But I kind of want to get your take because I know you don't co-stream per se, but you do watch pro play. So what is your thought on the quality of broadcast at the moment?
Yeah, so I think the quality of the broadcast, I'm not particularly interested in it in the way that I used to be. Now, you can't really say the broadcast doesn't try to be like very professional and very, like a lot of the talent on the broadcast is amazing too. A lot of them have been around even like during the glory days of LCS, for example. But I think part of what the broadcast is missing is part of what made esports magical, like when you were watching it when you were young. And I think that is like the authenticity and, the grassroots element of esports. Because, for example, when I was thinking of this yesterday. I'm a huge fan of basketball and professional basketball. And one of the appeals of like a professional sport is that the gap between you and the person that you're watching is huge. Like there's like 7'5" Victor Wembanyama. Like I'm like that's a superhuman, like no matter how good I am on the court, I'm not gonna be that. But I like to watch them because they're just so much more like incredible than I could ever be. But when it comes to esports, these pro players have the same story, as a lot of us, like gaming was the escape, gaming was the hobby, or like maybe you were a loner and then like gaming was like what gave you some purpose. A lot of pro players have the exact same story. And also like with League, you can just build the same items as the pro player. You can just see them play Orianna, then lock in Orianna that night. There's like a level of connection to gaming that you don't really get in professional sports. But I do think the broadcast has tried too hard to be like a traditional sport, and it's gone too professional. Whereas I think the value of early esports was that it was like very authentic, very grassroots, like very you could connect to the players and the orgs. And so that's why people like watching co-streamers, because it's like you're watching with like a friend, or you're watching with someone who like you can directly like chat to them and they can read your message and respond. Like, like all of like Kadrill's little like goofy things that he does, or like you hear like Dom talk about like what he ate for lunch, and then all of a sudden he's like watching a T1 game. And it's like that level of authenticity is like what's lacking in the main broadcast. Even though the main broadcast is very professional, I don't think that's what people actually like want. That's my take.
I totally agree with that. And I'll even go so far as to say that the esports teams also need to sell their players. Like, I want to root for a player. The way I can root, or the reason why I'm so attached to T1 is because I love Faker, and I know that T1 always has Faker, right? I also know that Carria is there. I know that Owner is there. But in LCS specifically, because I watch the most LCS, it's harder to get attached to those players because they're either getting subbed out every split or every year. The rosters are changing completely if they underperform after one game or one split. And it's harder to attach or grow a love for a team or a player if they're there 1 minute and then they're out the next. It's so much harder. I also agree with what you were saying in terms of like, I think that this is also just like a boomer take in a sense that like the League of Legends pro scene viewers are just getting older
Yeah.
and they are super nostalgic and they're super reminiscent of what League of Legends pro scene used to be. And they're just yearning for the good old days,
Yeah.
you know? But they're gonna have to let go and just understand that it's not gonna be that way anymore. I think that League of Legends also saw this with the actual game itself because when Mythics were out, people were just like, oh man, I wish League would go back to the old days where like ADCs would pop everybody, but now everybody's getting popped. Da 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 da. So I think it's just like such a boomer take for us to be saying like co-streamers are the reason because that's the most like accessible, noticeable change. And lastly, I think we have to talk about how people say that co-streamers are detrimental to the ecosystem in a sense that they are very negative around the LCS specifically because they speak so negatively and toxically about the players and creating negative like narratives about players. One, again, I think this falls on the orgs or the player themselves to make a name for themselves in the League of Legends space. Let's talk about APA, Yapped in America. He made his brand around typing in chat and like being like a bantery mid laner. We also have Jojo Pyun who did the same thing and he's very well known. And look how well those players are doing now. But to say that the narratives are being played on by the co-streamers, I don't think is very fair when we also have to look at like the expectations for NA. Whenever they go international, they don't perform. It's just the sad truth. There's so much false hope around NA going to MSI or NA going to Worlds. We had FlyQuest. We had them on such a high pedestal and then they just crashed and failed at Worlds right in front of our eyes. I just think the narratives are not negative by the co-streamers. I think that maybe just NA as a whole is underperforming. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, like it's hard to be an NA fan, like it always has, but it's hard. Like if you're somebody who actually believes in NA, like how are you going to be positive about it? Like, I think fans being kind of like aggressive and disappointed when their teams fail is like it's the most true and honest thing in any sport. Like it's competition. You're rooting for the people that you want to see win, and if they lose, well, you're going to be upset about that. And ultimately, I think that is an issue that NA has, an issue in the direction that a lot of NA orgs have gone is like their mentality is like, we still want to win worlds. You know, I think a lot of them probably do feel like they could. And you know, maybe they would one day.
One day.
Maybe like when all the Koreans retire. But the point is, that NA is probably never going to win worlds. But
don't say that.
Winning the ultimate prize isn't the only appeal. It is the only appeal if that's what the org's sole goal is. But like look at Los Ratones, like that they're the best example as like a counter argument to Costreaming being a problem because they brought plenty of eyes to LEC when they were in it. And the reason is because people actually cared about the players because the players had their own personal brands. I mean, they got the boss, who is the GOAT, and
shout out the boss.
Yeah,
shout out the boss.
Shout out the boss. He's the GOAT, and people wanted to see like, is he actually for real? Can his strategy actually work in a professional environment? They had Nemesis, who is one of the best mids in all of EU history, but he is really popular because he's also a streamer. Like they all like did content, and so like when you got them together, it was just super interesting. Like you wanted to see, you know, what they could do. Did you think they were gonna win LEC? Maybe there were some copers, but like probably not.
Yeah.
Did you think they were gonna go international and win worlds? Probably not. But you still cared. You still tuned in. You still tapped in, and it's because like the individual brands were so good that when you put them together, people cared. And, pro players these days, like, barely even stream. Like, the biggest streamers when I was watching in high school was Bjergsen, was Sneaky, was the Odd One. Yeah, like, that's a real old name right there. But, like, you had, oh my god, Dyrus, for example. Like, there were some, pretty much all the streamers were pro players. I don't know why orgs don't push their players to stream more. Honestly, like, if I were an org and I was focused solely on growth, I would, focus, like, maybe a little less on the competition side, like maybe reduce, like, scrim blocks a little bit, and, like, have it in the contract that my players have to stream a certain amount of hours with their cam on, so that, they
Cam on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so important. We want to see you.
Yeah, like, get people invested in your players, and then once, those personal brands build up, there might be some diamonds in the rough that have, like, great personalities that have never been, like, highlighted, and then, like, you're not winning worlds, but, people actually care about you, and I think that's what matters.
I so agree. It's so important, and it's also important for the longevity of the player. Like, we get these young players like General Sniper. General Sniper has been in the industry since he was like 12. I remember he made a post where he was like, first day of high school. And I was like, what the freaky,
he was like
bro?
14 for like 6 years.
No, actually.
Yeah.
But like, and we hold these players to such high regards, and we lift them on this pedestal, and then they get to the pro scene, they underperform because it's their rookie year, they get like a year or two, and then if they don't make that brand for themselves, like, the longevity of being a pro player can be extended if you just make a name for yourself. You have to put in those works, those hours. Look at Double Lift. This man is co-streaming. This man is making content for the rest of his life, low-key. Look at Poe Belter. Eugene has made his debut on LCS. He's co-streamed, he's streamed, and he even came back with the tier 2 thing that they did. Like, I think it's so important that they market themselves outside of pro play. 100%. But we are going to stand by real quick as we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with you. Welcome back, y'all. Thank y'all so much for that brief little intermission, but we wanted to bring it back to NA Esports. LCS Spring Split has begun, and it is the second split of the 12th year of North American's Professional League of Legends League. The spring finals, which is the final or the finale of this split, is going to be, for the first time in several years, traveling outside of their home from Riot Games Arena in LA for the spring finals in Arizona. It has been announced that it's going to be hosted at the Mullet Arena on Arizona State campus on June 13th through 14th. Tickets are now live on Tixer, so if you guys want to go turn up at LCS, you totally can. But I'm so excited that we got to talk about everything co-streaming, because I really wanted to get my thoughts out, and I really wanted to pick your brain on everything that's been going on, because I hate that we're blaming co-streamers when they're dedicating their time in their hard work to carve out these streams out of their schedules to promote the pro play in the pro scene. So, but it is now time for our segment called non-iron takes. So a lot of people, whenever I state one of my thoughts on League of Legends, they call it an iron take. But today I want to hear chat. I want to hear y'all's non-iron takes. What are some takes that you guys have on League of Legends that are maybe a little non-traditional, but is definitely not an iron take? Last week, I think it was Steve said that top laners should not be played in the jungle. So I kind of want to hear your take on that, especially as a jungle king, a jungle main. How do you feel about like top laners like Mbessa or Darius being played in the jungle?
I think the part about that's the most annoying is that they don't just get like, they're not just playable in the jungle. They're the best junglers.
Really?
And I think the most toxic way that they go about balancing like these champions going into the jungle is they just give them the best clear speeds. And so like there's like Darius, when he was first put in the jungle, was the best jungler in the game. And the reason was he just could clear 20 seconds faster than any traditional jungler, which is an eternity at like higher ranks. So I think if you want junglers or top laners to be able to clear in the jungle and like kind of be like off meta picks, then sure. But like if you give them just the fastest clears in the game, like like if you were to guess who has the fastest jungle clear in the game, who do you think it is?
Like right now?
Yeah.
Well, with what you just said,
It's not a top laner, but it is an off meta jungler.
Morgana or Brand?
It's Zyra.
Oh, yeah. Really? The plants?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So like because of how she can like set up her jungle clear, she's the fastest. And it's like nobody really plays Zyra because she's pretty boring. But like the reality is like, why is the fastest jungler in the game Zyra?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense. But I got that's my problem with it. Is just there has to be like a better way of balancing them in the jungle.
Absolutely. But I kind of want to get your take because I saw this running rampant in high elo, but Vayne jungle, is she good in the jungle right now?
She's playable.
Okay. Because she's only single target. So
yeah,
the clear can't be that good, right?
It can't be. I think they did something. I forget what they did. They made it possible. I mean, I'm pretty sure like Vayne can clear pretty comparably to a lot of like the meta junglers that aren't like super fast full clears. Also, I think Ivern actually does have the fastest clear, just so that I don't get fraud checked by chat.
They did say teleport Ivern, new meta.
But yeah, Ivern's kind of like a special case because you know he's weird. But yeah. So I mean, Vayne is playable in the jungle. I don't think I've ever really faced her, but like Mbessa, you know, that's someone that I faced many a time because she was just given this incredibly fast clear, and because she's such like a strong champion. I think that's the thing is like the way they balance top lane is top lane's isolated. But what they do is all the top lane champions are like arguably the strongest champs in the game. Like if you're in a 1v1, you want to be a top laner. And so when you take a champion that's super strong but balanced around being isolated and you put them in the role where you can be anywhere that you want, it definitely causes some problems.
100%. And I think I want to point out what JT just typed in chat. Top laners shouldn't exist as viable support picks as well. So just going to what you just said about normally they're isolated in top lane, but then you have freaking Tom Kench coming down to the bot lane with Dawn and Core or Dawn and Dusk.
Dusk and Dawn,
and one-shotting the ADC because he can do that top lane because they're tanky up there. But when you're down here in the bot lane, people are getting 100 to 0'd. I don't think that's an iron take. I think that's so smart. I think that's amazing. But now I want your own iron take. Your own non-iron take.
I think Yuumi should not be pickable and ranked. That's my take. I think that Yuumi's existence is purely so that like a brand new player can play with their friends and not be completely useless. I think that she is unbalanceable in a competitive environment. No one likes playing with her. No one likes playing against her. And yeah, I think they should just say Yuumi is for beginner players only. Do not play her in ranked.
Okay, but like two things. One, isn't Yuumi supposed to be like actually a difficult champion? And two, as a jungler, would you not just want like a Yuumi sitting on you the whole entire game?
Well, that used to be how Yuumi was, but then they made it so like she has like the best friends mechanic. So her abilities are a lot weaker if she's not on her ADC because, you know, when Yuumi was first released, she would just abandon her ADC, hop on Hecarim, and they just win the game. But you can't really do that anymore. So it makes it so that there's not really like a roaming element to Yuumi, which is what's so frustrating to play with because, you know, like especially in higher elo, support is basically just like a second jungler. And so if your support is just stuck attached to the ADC, like they have no value.
Mm.
And and Yuumi being a difficult champion is a crazy take.
Is that my non-iron take?
Well, listen, I know that like they technically say that there's like a win rate disparity between like brand new Yuumis and like people who play them all the time, and I think that's probably just like skewed data because like a lot of Yuumi players just like they've got Netflix on. Like all you have to do is just be paying attention, and you'll be like a decent Yuumi. So I think there's like the types of people that play Yuumi are very varied. Let's say I don't think it's really a skill thing, but
I think that's so fair, and I honestly call those type of Yuumis Chipotle Yuumis because they've got their bowl of Chipotle in front of them. They've got Netflix on the second monitor, and they are doing that, and they're just like pressing E or pressing Q or whatever, and just playing the game like that. So I agree, but I also like disagree in a sense that like when you have a good Yuumi, you can tell. Like you can tell if they're locked in or if they're
playing,
just But oh my gosh, I love that take. Thank you so much for that. And I want to say thank you guys for tuning into episode 2 of Summoner Sofa. And remember to return next Tuesday to re-up on your weekly League of Legends news. Now, don't forget the VOD will be up on YouTube every Thursday morning, as well as anywhere that you can watch a podcast. So even Spotify, in case you missed today's live episode. Who knows what will happen between now and next week? I will, and I'm going to tell you all about it next Tuesday at 11 a.m. My name is Miss Chim Chim. This is Elekktro, and we're signing off and signing out. Bye, y'all.
Bye.